Hey, this is the Kubeflow Notebooks meeting for the 16th of January 2025. We've got lots of people here. We don't we won't go through everyone, but that's good. A lot of them are from Red Hat, which is nice to see. We've got more engagement from different orgs. The main thing is that we're a couple of weeks away from releasing 1.10, Kubeflow 1.10, and so uh, I just want to draw attention to the fact that if someone has anything that they want in for 1.10, like we're still going to be releasing out of the Kubeflow repo. I know some people want us to finish the splitting before then, but I don't think that's likely. It's also just puts at risk releasing out of the new repo when we've already got a release process for the old repo. But if someone has anything specific that they know is a problem with 1.10, not 2.0, but 1.10, oh, sorry, 1.9, sorry, please either commented on this issue here, which we've linked 7673 on Kubeflow, or just say it now if anyone has anything. So I'll give one chance for anyone to say anything. You don't have you can do it later, but has anyone got anything that they know needs to be fixed for 1.0? For notebooks, central dashboard, profile controller, things like that. Things we maintain. Cool. If not, then I will just leave it at that's the issue there that I've created. The secondary lists here is not actually guaranteed to be included. These are just things that I pulled which were not completed from 1.9's planning. Some of them may have been completed. I don't think so though. So probably the only thing that I know we will do, and I usually do it pretty close to before the release, is I will make the updates to the Kubeflow default notebook images, which also affects 2.0, because usually we kind of just bump to the latest versions of the various packages for the data scientists in the world. We still don't have an AMD image. That's actually probably the only one thing I would love to get in. Like, big things, AMD default notebook image. I know that we've had some trouble reaching out to AMD about the fact that their images require root to run, but AMD. There it is.
Comment on that. I still couldn't get through to them.
Yeah, we might need to use other industry connections to fix that. It's like we could also make our own workaround of some capacity. Blocker requires root to requires container to run as root to guarantee that it can run in all M's. It's very annoying. Okay. I'll just link to the issue. Okay. Interesting. So, anyone else got anything they want to see in there? I mean, there's obviously stuff that we would love to have in, but that is unlikely to make it in because we've been so focused on 2.0 and also because there was a holiday in between. Okay, I'll leave like 2 seconds for anyone else. Message in the chat if you have something.
The group header support is you'll be talk later or is part of this
Yeah, that's
one?
what I'm saying. That's not really likely to
Yeah.
happen.
We only need to communicate this, Matthew, because when I talk with others, because I was doing the model registry authentication in December, and I talked with multiple people, especially Julius, that was kind of expecting this. So we just need to communicate everyone that this will not be implemented. Like for the model registry, he puts like, oh, you need to support this because this will come on 110. And then I told him, I don't know, I don't think it will come because I showed the open issue. So we just need to communicate for the community.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's
on one call that we are not going to support this.
yeah. I mean, it's like even if we did support it, every single component would have to adopt support.
Oh,
And
yeah,
yeah,
I'm asking because I did this for model registry already.
you mean prepared for support?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, okay. And what's this? What's this? Okay, sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. People always get their hopes up when they see things and don't put the resources in to actually build it. So
Yeah.
anyway,
And there is some docs that I read. I can find later. There were some docs on the on one of the repositories that mention that gives the idea for the user reading that this actually works already. I think it's on the
which
manifests. I have the links. I just need to take my notes. I can send you later. Where
okay.
you probably need to send a pull request to notice that this is not implemented. This is for future.
I mean, I implemented the front, like I think what maybe I don't know, maybe it's just incorrectly written. We implemented the front part of it, that actually extracts the groups, but that's the only
Yeah.
thing we've done. Nothing actually
Oh,
reads the groups.
yeah, exactly. When I asked Julie, oh, you do you know any other component that support this? He told me, oh, not. Otherwise, you'll be the first one. But we are there. But we just made clear
Well, no, the
on the
first one
manifest.
needs to be the central dashboard. Otherwise, nothing
No,
can
no,
support
no.
it.
That's what that's what I mean. That it's we need the central dashboard. So this mechanism is not implemented yet. We just need to make clear. I can send you the links.
Yes. Okay. Cool. Okay, and also for the rewrite of the okay, anyone else got anything they want to say about the group header support, or does anyone have any time or ability to help? So I wrote a comment of what needs to be done here. It's not simple, but it's not super complicated either. Effectively, the steps that are required is we already extract the group header into kubeflow-groups as a HTTP header for all requests. So effectively, the first thing we need to do is have the central dashboard be able to show profiles based off group members rather than just user members. So you can have your group bindings, which looks like this, role bindings, should be able to support group kind subjects as well, and so that means we need to update kfam to be able to extract in its, because kfam is like this API that runs on the cluster and returns JSON payloads with lists of users of each profile that is called by the central dashboard. So it needs to have been updated pretty straightforwardly in these sections to be able to read group bindings, role bindings with this structure, similar to how the user ones already look like this, almost identical. And then once we've got that, then we need to have a flag, I think, for each sidebar link in the dashboard, which determines, which is down here. We need to update this to use the new KFAM API. And then we need to have under the config YAML of the dashboard, I think we should have a flag which says, does this support groups, so that it's hidden for people who are group members of a profile. When, like, what I'm trying to say is you can either be a user member of a profile or a group member of a profile. For apps that don't support group membership, we shouldn't even show them on the sidebar, when their user is getting access to a profile, to a profile through a group. And so that means, and this is how we can do a staged rollout, so for example, model registry could be the only one that supports group membership initially. Or notebooks is pretty straightforward, so we could make notebooks and model registry maybe. Anyway, cool. I just wanted to say that for people. So if someone has the ability to write Go code and is vaguely familiar with this stuff, I would love to work with you on creating a PR there. Yeah, anyone want to volunteer? Or if not, then please comment on here on this issue that I've linked, which is where is it? Manifests, kubeflow/manifest 2910. Okay.
Yeah, this is the doc that I mentioned for you. Says that this is not fully implemented, fully operational.
Well, yeah, not at all operational.
But yeah, but I understand that this implies that there are some components that implement this.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. The front end does. The front
No,
end,
but it's not
the actual
it's-
security system extracts the group.
yeah.
Yeah, that's support. Not really. Okay. It's like we built the hammer and we're planning to build a house.
Yep. Yep. We have all the screws,
So-
everything ready. We just
So
need
Griffin
to.
just asked what other apps will support it. Well, no app technically supports it. There is a PR to support it in Pipelines 1.0, but subsequent we didn't merge it, and then 2.0. It's honestly not that difficult because the complexity is in the front end allocation stuff, and in the it's the complexity is in the part that I've already done, which is getting the group header to actually be populated on every request, which is already done, and then secondarily on the UI, making sure that we only show people the correct things for what they are, and correctly figure out who's in what profile. Profile meaning like namespace membership. The actual process of doing it should be straightforward for any internal app which is using a subject access review already, because a subject access review can just include their list of groups that they have, which again is passed to them in the user header, in the Kubeflow dash groups header. So pretty much they just need to split it by comma, and then and then run their subject access review with the both of those things. And Kubernetes, because these are groups that are actually defined in Kubernetes, RBAC, their subject access review, say for example, the request is, oh, can this user create a notebook in this namespace? Right now we do a subject access review, which says, if I was the actual back end of the notebook front end, is able to do anything. So it needs to check, oh, I'm meant to be acting as this user right now. Am I actually allowed to do the thing that I was just asked to do? And the way it does that is doing a subject access review, which is a Kubernetes thing, which checks effectively like an impersonation, but without doing the action. It's like, if I were to do this action, would I be allowed? And so all you need to do is just extend that slightly to unpack the group header into that request, and that's all you need to do. And so model registry that's why model registry was able to do it so easily, I assume. Eda, can you confirm that? And also, what format are you assuming the group header has?
Oh yes, I took for one of the specs that is the comma.
Yeah, I think it's comma. I'm pretty sure it's comma.
I hope so, because I saw some proposal someday. I expect the comma. But it's working just on tests. What we implemented right now is Kubeflow user and do everything based on Kubeflow user.
Sure. I mean, someone probably needs to unpack that group header on a production cluster and just check that it is comma separate. Also, things like ordering of it, I don't think there's any guarantee on the ordering and things like that. But yeah. Okay. I don't know if there's an escape character either, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. So probably needs I don't know if it's possible to have a group with a comma in it. So we should check what happens when that does happen.
Yep.
It probably isn't, but I don't know if that's within the OIDC spec, but who knows. Okay. Groups aren't really that well defined in the OIDC spec. Okay, okay, so rewrite essential dashboard. So I just want to check, is anyone here actually working on this? I don't think they will, because it's mostly Red Hat people here, but we probably do need to progress this even under its current Angular thing, although it has diverged slightly from the existing features now that we've progressed the main dashboard, because this is effectively using unsupported frameworks and JavaScript frameworks and stuff. But this is actually closer than a thingy. And then let me just grab the...
Who's doing the actual work for the
So
Angular
previously someone else did it. Kubeflow Angular dashboard. So there was a person a couple years ago, I think from Canonical. This is the code, and that's the issue. And yeah, so there was a person. Was it this guy, Orpheus? Where does he work these days?
Yeah, Orpheus is still at Canonical. Yeah,
Okay, cool. So yeah, so effectively I had him update what he had done, which is useful for anyone wanting to pick up this work. Let me just saying like old maintainer or like person who started the work, listed current state. That's that. Current code for rewrite. Okay. So we will move it. So my current plan was originally to not move the central dashboard Angular rewrite, but I think into the new dashboard repo. But I mean, that would just, for one, probably anger Andre even more, because it would leave it in the Kubeflow repo. But also, it would make it more difficult to move it in the future because we'd lose the history of the commits there as well. So I'm just going to move it into the dashboard repo, even if it doesn't get actually released out of it. The code's just going to sit there, if you know what I mean. We could move it into its own branch. I guess, does anyone have any particularly strong opinion about having a separate branch? I'll just tell you that there is other things in the dashboard's main branch, including the profile controller and other things like that. So I don't think it makes sense to be in its own branch, but anyone got any thoughts there? Okay, cool. Yeah, so if anyone wants to help out and has Angular experience, it's actually not that much left to do. And effectively, the goal is just to have feature parity with the existing one. And then now that once we're using Angular, I know that it's not the same framework as the other stuff. I'm sorry. We can use, you know, we can try and improve the dashboard, because right now it's a bit of a lost cause trying to work on the dashboard because you're fighting against almost completely unsupported frameworks like Polymer from back in who knows when. I updated it recently to the latest version, which was still years old. So we can't use the latest node. We can't use the latest. I think we're stuck on node 18 or something. Yeah. Anyway, okay, and then so for the split, and so for the splitting of the dashboard repo, anyone got any comments about the rewrite? Okay. The splitting of the Kubeflow repo, this is the last part of the 1.0 stuff. So this is something that Andre has wanted for a long time. I'm not against it. We've physically got the repos already. So we have Kubeflow / dashboard and Kubeflow / notebooks. Notebooks we're obviously already using for 2.0. We might need to put an indicator on here that there's 2 versions of this app in here. So maybe I think in the README we should add a nice little thing here which says click here to go to V2 branch, click here to go to V1 branch. But we're not going to be moving that one straight away. The first one we're going to be moving is the dashboard, which includes, just for people to be aware who aren't aware of this work, it includes these components. Let me just actually clarify that it does include the central dashboard Angular rewrite now. Where is it? There it is. Otherwise, whoever moves this is going to forget. And what we'll be doing is we'll be keeping the commit history and moving only the commits that affected these ones and filtering the commits that affected multiple things. We'll also be we'll be rewriting the commit message so that this link here, you see this kind of, the bracket which shows the PR that did it, this will still work in the new repo because we're going to prefix it with Kubeflow / Kubeflow because you can just rewrite commits. Pretty straightforward. There's a great tool called git rewrite repo or something. I forget what it's exactly called, but it's pretty useful. It's a third-party tool. So this is the first ones we're going to move. So actually, this does bring one more request for people. If you have a pull request that happens to be open in this repo, and some people in this call might be in that category, for one of these components, so this KFAM, pod defaults, central dashboard Angular, and profile controller. If you have a PR open for one of those things, I don't think there's that many. Most of them are notebooks things. Some aren't though. We need to either try and get it merged before we do the move if it's actually in a state to merge, or we need to re-raise it on the new repo because it will obviously not work. You can't move a PR. PRs aren't like that. So has anyone got in that category and wants to say something right now or yell at me? No?
I think Matthew, if the author is interested in proceeding with the pull request, he can send the pull request for the other repo.
So the other thing is, even if they're not interested, in some cases, the pull requests here are pretty important. Like, most notably, we don't support updating the owner of a profile without breaking things. That needs to be fixed. Some of these are incorrect or other things that were
cataloged. But then depend. We are not going to close the pull request there, or are planning to close.
It will. So it's because the branch will stay open. It's unlikely that it will close the pull request. It is possible sometimes when you get true merge conflicts, but we're not going to rewrite the history of main, so it shouldn't. So it shouldn't. But the pull request obviously won't. We can't move a pull request, and it becomes hard. It's easier to merge a pull request. I mean, there is a slight legal question, of course, around raising a pull request and whether the DCO is formally signed at the time of commit or at the time of merge. I think it's at the time of commit, so I think as long as it was signed, we're fine to just take their code. But if you know what I mean, if say they've gone or they've died or something, because it's been a few years. Yeah, so I think it should be fine, but there's only a couple, and we're going to try and merge some of them in patch releases 4.10 anyway. Like, these are the ones that I cataloged, I think. But yeah, updating the owner of the profile is probably the only one which I'm like, we just have no choice. That has to be the first thing we do, if not before we split. So I'll just want to highlight that the person who's working on this, well, he's not working on it yet, is the person who maintains the Kubeflow manifests, which is Julius. I don't know if he actually realizes how much work it is. It's not that much work, but it is a lot of work if you don't know everything about how everything connects. So the steps that we're going to make, I'll just write them out here for him. I wrote them out, so I'll just copy them in here. Let me just copy them. Okay, this. Okay, so like this was what I sent to him. Technically, Kimonos, but AWOL effectively, which is a military term for absent without leave. And Julius von Car. So if you want to work on this, I can put you two together if someone has a desire to do it. Obviously, it does require elevated permissions to actually do the move, but preparing everything can be done on a separate repo. And then so the steps would be, I'll just relay them out for you. We need to set up the new dashboard repo, which is physically set up, but not, there's like the README doesn't exist and things. Oh. Okay, and we'll move to the 2.0 stuff very soon. I'm sorry for this part taking a while, but we need to kind of get through it. We need to close any pull requests that are important. They're not important. This commit suffix needs to be rewritten. We should only move the folders under the components that are actually meant to be in the new repo, which is listed in here. Okay. We should not move the CI/CD in the initial commit. And this is really important. So we're not going to move the CI/CD because it's impossible to filter those files sensibly, and because we don't want to actually trigger a release into the old stuff on the new repo. My preference is that we actually move to using GitHub Container Registry after we do the move. Meaning GitHub Container Registry is the alternative to Docker that's on here. As a quick aside, just for those who aren't maybe aware, because it happened for some reason over the Christmas break, while most images already had pull limits on Docker, some really big images were kind of unsponsored by Docker recently, and those images are the ones from Bitnami. So all of those images are now subject to pull limits for your users. So if you happen to be using them, say in a manifest for a job or something, because it's really common to use the kubectl one from them, those are subject to pull limits now, so it could have problems for your users. I just want to highlight that to anyone. The issue, you can read about it, is just grab it. It's this. It's Bitnami/containers 75671. And obviously it's got pretty negative stuff. Okay. Just wanted to highlight that for people. It also affects Helm charts that they have as well. They're starting to try and commercialize their product. I mean, good on them, but also it is a big change for the community, which will probably have to move away from a lot of their stuff. Cool. Okay. Elira, do you want to talk about this? And someone from Red Hat who's worked on it?
Yeah, I can talk about this. It's just for the community knows that we fixed it on Lyra 4 to work on the Kubeflow pipelines. So it's working right now. We did initially this work on our fork on Node.dh, and now Paulo and Guilherme, that's also from my team, work with the Lyra community to merge our changes in upstream. Caponetto is the guy from Red Hat. And soon they are planning to do a release R4, Lyra will be 4 something, and this will be compatible with our images.
And which features are still there? Have you removed any features?
I think it's basically a bump from what we did. Basically, is a bump with the dependencies and make sure that everything keep working. So it's basically the same Lyra 3, but working in Notebooks 4.
I saw that there was a pretty big PR as well raised by one of the original maintainers.
Yeah, I don't think
planning to be?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Okay, cool. I mean, this guy currently works
No,
at IBM, right?
yeah, no, he now works for Apple.
Oh, now he works for Apple. Well, that's fun.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
but our pull request, I put a link here. But I can ask about this one. You can ask on the pull
Oh,
request,
we
but
don't
they are
need it
pretty
to be
active.
there, obviously, but like it's like the main thing we need to do is just get it up to operational again. But
Yeah, it's this works, and we test it in site. And as soon as we do this, I will test everything with our image and update.
and to be clear,
Kubeflow.
you have the ability to actually cut the release, right? Someone has permission. Well, this guy does.
No, yes. Luciano does, and Caponetto is working with him from Red Hat. Luciano does. Luciano is pretty responsive with us now.
Cool. So we have the ability to cut the release, is what I'm saying.
Yep.
Cool. That's good to know. And I guess once you've done that, let's update this, and then let's also consider. I say consider because I don't know if it's a good idea, or if not, releasing a pre-built image with it.
Yep.
I don't know if that's a good idea for the reason that I don't want to tie our releases to their releases so that they can more frequently release than us. You know.
But at least put as a comeback as a add-on that we know that works.
Yeah, we could even have one here which is not included by default, which says, like, look, it's going to cause so many controversies if we do it, but we could add a new one which is like community images. Like, it's going to cause people to be like, and debatably,
We have this image. We have this image on Harshad's team.
what I'm saying is like we could have a catalog of community images.
Yep.
Of course, that raises the question who gets to be listed there, which is what will cause all the controversy.
Yep.
But and then it raises questions like, okay, should the CUDA images be in there? Probably not, because almost everyone uses NVIDIA GPUs. Should the Intel ones be there? Maybe, because almost no one uses Intel. So like,
The AMD as well.
Yeah, and it's like,
when fix it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an interesting question. So if someone has another community image that they would like for some reason, there are other images that I do plan to add once we have Notebooks 2.0, most notably one for a project called Zeppelin, Apache Zeppelin, which is an IDE for Spark mostly. But we couldn't do it easily without like the new Notebooks 2.0, which let's get to right now. We'll make that a lot easier. Okay, is anyone else want to talk about Elira, and you want to say anything further? Eder, anything? Nope. Okay.
Nope.
Okay, Notebooks 2.0. Okay, so let's so the things we want to do are like status. I guess that it doesn't matter. We'll just like status and like we'll just do some notes. Like so effectively, we'll do it at the bottom. Okay, so what are the most important things that are happening? So who's been working on what? And someone said they had a demo. Do you want to? So the main thing that I'm aware of is that we have a front end that is more than nothing now. So does anyone who was working on that want to share that or?
Yeah.
Cool, I can let you share it pretty easily. I'll just stop sharing. If you want to share.
Share my screen. Yes. I'm running it locally, so. Second. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So basically, from the last meeting we have on beginning of December, we discussed that Eder and I were starting to create a few tasks that I left on the link on the document there for the planning bullet point.
Mm-hmm.
And we added all those tests there. And we started creating the initial mockups for the workspace table and workspace details screens, which are here. I'm showing them now. And then this allowed multiple people to join the effort and send PRs to improve on some specific components, specific columns, and improve to the point of the mockup that you, Matthew, and Eder discussed before December.
I think there was some inaccuracies on that markup because it was kind of annotated pretty difficultly. You know, like things like that image should be obviously not underscore in it. It should be similar to the pod config. It should be a normal human readable text, which is from the description. Things like that. But yeah, I know that these are just mock-up fields from the a fake JSON payload, but
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'm going to show now, I'm sure that we have you can have a lot of modifications there. It's just the first initial version. Feel free to, if you have any feedback, we can put on the meeting notes as well and deal with them in newer tests later.
I think we missed a
but
couple of things from the annotation, so we probably should just make sure we enter a year across all of that, I assume.
Can you repeat the question? If I
I'm saying like
was...
because we did make a list of things that would like this is very similar to the thing that you mocked up, Ida, but like that
Yes.
mock-up had a lot of annotations, and I was just wondering if you still have a list of those annotations, maybe in a bullet point
Yes.
form, so that we can update them.
Yep. Yeah, I can move for the document. I can work with Paulo with that because
Yeah,
it's not a bullet point.
Because yeah, the
But
problem is
most
in
of
the
them we
annotations
put
it's
here.
hard to read, right? It's very hard to
Yep.
read.
Yep.
But
yeah,
some
but
of like,
I
for
discussed
example,
those annotations with Feder before we started the implementation as well. So most of them should be applied in the items that we have there.
I mean, some of it's probably just because the sample JSON payload. So I presume you've just used that sample JSON payload that we created.
For our listing, no, we just created some mocks, but we took a look at the CRDs that you have in your fork for
Oh, okay.
workspace and workspace kind.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, so I mean, in all cases, there should be like these anything with dashes is probably not the human readable name. So you'd expect it to look more like human readable name. But that's separate. But the most important thing that is missing is the same thing that we already have another PR for, which is the like connect button.
Yeah, there is a PR for that. We still have to review it.
Cool.
I'll just
Okay.
take a
Yep.
few notes.
So let's do you want to run through what you've done, or do you want to like how you got to here so that people who aren't super across it can understand what we are looking at here?
Okay, so basically, we have the workspace table, which aims to list the workspace based on the namespace that's selected here. So there is a namespace selector. You can filter them here. And once you change, you should see the workspace related to that. It's just the list is mocked yet. It's not looking at the backend, the BFF yet. But this would be the general idea once this is implemented. Here I'm already demonstrating with what we have on the notebooks v2 branch and one other PR that's still open, which is related to the filters, but it's almost ready for merge as well. I thought I would show with it because it adds a lot to the screen. So you can add filters here for each field separately, and pretty generic filter component. And we one alternative that we discussed about some of the information that we can add on the table is to use this expandable feature to show, for instance, the cluster storages related to that workspace. And if we want, we could add more information here on the right as well, since we have a lot of screen space for this component, for this expandable line for the workspace. And for the workspace details, we also added a drawer here. So you can, besides having those actions related to the workspace, you can click on view details and have a few tabs. I believe that was on the mockup as well. I took a look at the annotations. I believe I got the tabs right after.
I mean, there's not. These are just like these were just ideas. Like we're definitely can. This is very much early. We just need to get the structure in there. That's all. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I added the details mockup, so we have a few empty tabs here just as placeholders, but there are already GitHub issues for people to work on these tabs as well. They are already getting assigned to do it.
So,
but basically the idea is to show all the workspace information here.
So I wonder if what we should do is similar. So there's two. So I think that menu is too hidden right now. It's under too many clicks. So I think it should be under one click in some capacity.
The details.
Yeah. So the way that that's done on Google Cloud, I don't know if this is the right approach, is that in the same menu that lets you do bulk actions, like, you know, when you tick box select multiple things, when you select one item, it brings up that menu. When you select multiple, it brings up a bulk actions menu on the right-hand side. You know what I mean? So like
No,
it
I
like
don't
so
know.
say there was a checkbox on the left-hand side of each row element.
Okay.
Like if so the way that Google Cloud works is if you in addition to that expand maybe, I don't know. Or maybe not. Maybe that stuff should be moved to the right as well. But then when you select one of the rows, say you're trying to delete 10 things. Deleting is a separate discussion, but like do something like pause lots of them, let's say. You could select multiple at once with drop downs or select all or something, you know, or filter or something like that. But then if you only select one, that's the thing that triggers the sidebar in Google Cloud to come up, like that view details overlay that we just saw. We could also just make it so that when you click on the row, it brings it up, but I don't know if that's a bad user experience.
Yeah, for the row, I tried it when I was doing the mockups, but because we have a few actions over each other, it got kind of crazy because we have the expand here, and then the click of the row is the whole row, and then the action started to getting messed. So I thought we used the view details because of that, but I think the checkbox is an option as well.
Yeah, because like I think having it under 2 clicks will mean that almost no one finds it.
You
know what I mean?
could also have a separate icon here with like an eye or
Well, there's already going to be
the
another
one
big button there called connect.
here.
Yes, because that's like play. It's probably going to be play or something, or like I don't know, because the problem is that there's going to be multiple connection endpoints that are available. Obviously, for images that only have one endpoint, that's fine. It'll just be that default one. But if you have, let's say, a Spark master and Jupyter on the same server, then you'll see a drop down arrow which says connect to Spark or connect to Jupyter. You know,
Right.
so because for most people that's the only reason they're coming to this page, right? To connect to create a workspace, check that it's running and it has the correct resources and type, and then connect to it and start using it. You know, that's what data scientists, that's the flow that they'll do, obviously. So by the way, everything here is subject to change based off people having ideas. Like, do not feel like you need to 100% follow the thing. It's obviously important that people understand, get in the headspace of the user before they try and make variations, obviously. But like, it's like, this is very early. So if people have ideas or think that's silly, or we should, you know, very radical changes are still completely allowed in this stage of development, just as a side note.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. About the checkbox that you mentioned, you would think that's okay for
it could even just be
I select
that
the first.
it could even just be for now that whatever the expanded one, oh, can you have multiple expanded at the same time?
Yes.
Oh, you can. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Also, I'm always a big fan of having buttons that have boundaries, but I understand why you've done it in that case. Maybe the row should be. Also, what happens when you have like lots of rows? Do you do any coloring on the rows? I mean, that's all styling, so we can do that later. Okay.
Yeah, the teaming, the material UI teaming will still be done to that. Have someone working on it. So we got the same design as the model registry UI. So we should be getting that soon.
I also just want to check, what's that settings button on the left do?
Just a placeholder. Doesn't have anything.
Okay. I also just wonder if we should allow people to customize the rows in the column. Sorry, columns on the table.
Like,
I would
as a setting.
advise you not to do this at the version.
No, not in the beginning. I'm just wondering if that's something that we should do or not. I don't know if it is. Okay.
I think, Matthew, I think I was talking with Paul. The most important thing, I guess, is that everybody that is implementing this understand that this is all subject to change, and you'll be able to do small upgrades in the UI to keep evolving.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we definitely need to have some overall kind of design session once we've got.
Yeah.
I think we should have like a big, and we should get some big users. Maybe we should get Apple in because Apple wants to start using it. Maybe we should get, like, I can bring some data science people from customers of mine, and I can, because again, it's probably maybe you shouldn't do that in one big session. Maybe we should do it the way that most design is done, where you kind of do some interviews with users. Yep. And show them that as some options, you know, be like, okay, is this better or is this better? maybe have them use it in front of us. But again, it needs to be working for them to do that. Like observing users using it will tell us a lot, I think. But
Yeah, people from the UX in Red Hat, they also offer to help as a community. But I'm waiting for to have at least some user flow for them
yes.
to better use of their time.
Yeah, and also we need to make sure it's focused on not reviewing things like, oh, because they may not understand that Jupyter isn't part of our app, for example. You know, it's not like
Yeah.
don't review Jupyter, for example. Like, you know?
Oh yeah, yes, yeah. But I mean to have some user flow, like at least to create the workspace, see the workspace leaving, see the empty state and this sort of flow, and then come back with them.
Absolutely, and I
their
think
feel.
this will all change around a lot. So
Yeah.
the main thing is good work. Let's keep going. So what are the next steps here? I guess we'll do you have anything else you want to show? Sorry.
Now, for now, that's all. We still have a few PRs open that we are reviewing. For instance, the connect button and the pop-ups for start, stop actions, and etc. The workspace creation, still we don't have the mockup yet, but it's the next on our list for new screens here on this web app.
And just for others understand, this is a standalone app that we're doing for development. The thing that we're going inside the Kubeflow Central dashboard is the white box, only the content inside the white box. So that's mean, for instance, that a namespace selector there is just for us to fake that we are running inside the central dashboard.
Yes, and that's important for your settings menu if you end up adding anything.
Yep, yep. The setting menus on Mother REST we are using for mocking stuff, like in development mode easily.
Maybe we should, yeah. Then maybe we should call it, I don't know, debug. Maybe debug.
Yep.
Just so there's not
Anything,
settings.
yeah.
It might be a bit confusing to users otherwise. Like a debug menu. Of course, then we need to make sure that that isn't shipped in production as well.
Oh yeah.
Like at all.
Griffin did everything, all the work to have two builds, one for development and one for deployment in Model Registry. So it just would be a matter of copy and paste here.
Well, I mean, like my question is, does the component shouldn't even be shipped? You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm meaning.
Yeah.
Like for a debug menu, unless it's a debug
Oh
that's
no!
useful for
Yes!
admins.
I mean when you do the build prod in Webpack, we remove everything and just ship the white box.
Yeah. Of course, the API entries might still be there. Okay, cool.
Yep.
So let's. Do you want to stop sharing, or is there anything else you want to add or show?
Yeah, no, that's all.
Okay, cool.
But we are progressing. Congrats, Paulo and team, Zenon's team, and our other team that are working on this during the holidays.
Cool. And if people are looking at like thinking, oh, I can make that UI better, please tell us your ideas, help do it. Again, we'll have a more formal structure to do that. Of course, I imagine, so once we're at a little bit more mature phase, maybe when we've actually got it connected to the backend, we can demo it in the community meeting, which will cause a lot of feedback to happen very quickly, as you would expect, because everyone has an idea about how UI works. So once we're at that stage, we can use that as an amplifier to get people to get engaged who are more UX kind of end user kind of people, I think. Because also for a lot of people, they've heard that we're doing Notebooks 2.0, like a shocking amount of people have heard it, but they don't necessarily understand what that means or what's changing. And that something from an admin perspective is quite different, which is that, you know, we're taking a lot of the load that was on the end user and putting it on the admin of the cluster. Like they have to define these workspaces. They have to be very rigid about how they upgrade users from one image to the next and defined, you know, redirects and things like that. So it is better for the end user, I believe, and it will increase adoption. It's just that there is going to be a small amount of people, and I just don't want to let anyone get discouraged that some people are going to be like, who are running Kubeflow effectively when they didn't need to be, like individual users, are going to be like, well, I used to be able to just edit things about the pod manually and things like that. And they're going to be upset. And I just want to remind people that like I've talked to a lot of really big businesses that are using notebooks, and these are the sort of requests that people want, which is like not like the whole point is that we're removing people's ability to do that. Like it's a massive security risk. Like for example, there's whole blog posts about why Kubeflow Notebooks is dangerous for your cluster because it lets you run arbitrary pods. You know what I mean? in clusters, people run crypto miners and stuff like that on your GPUs. So
and for Red Hat and others in the community, we have a bunch of customers asking this, especially for the MLOps perspective, to have a better administration of the cluster.
Yeah, and as you can imagine, when you've got AMD and NVIDIA GPUs in the same cluster or environment, you need to have different pod configs for each image type. You know, the drivers need to be installed on the container, or the maybe not drivers, but you know, the kind of stuff that needs to be connected. Rockham versus CUDA. And then you also just don't even want to show users the ability to run on an NVIDIA GPU with an AMD image. You know, for example, that's like, so these kind of things previously were impossible in Notebooks 1.0 because the user had to know they had to select one of these correct images and they could screw it up. Okay, cool. Let's go through I'll share my screen again. Let's go through the remaining tasks then and what we're going to do next for Notebooks 2.0. Okay, let's do this one, I believe. Anyone want to add anything from the demo? Anyone want to say anything? Hello, maybe? Cool. Okay. So you said there was let's start with the front end since we just talked about it. So there was a tracking issue. Is this comprehensive or is this, well, there's a lot of stuff here.
Yeah, I believe all tasks should be there on the front end section, in that description. Like
have we got people's ability to like use these projects yet? Have we?
I don't have Paulo and we are using the issue because we don't have access for this.
Okay.
We need to be admins to triage issues there.
Sure, do it. Paul, what's his thingy?
Paulo VMR.
I think Paulo is not on the Kubeflow yet.
I think you do need to be an org. I think
yeah,
you need to be an org.
Probably if you maybe you and I can put him on the org and recommend him to become a member.
I'm just thinking we also it might be better to do it through a group, looking like, you know, this. Like like we have a leads one, maybe we should have a team called and I think it should also let you triage. Like I think it should be called triage. And it should also let you do things like
we are maintaining this basically because when you go to the board, we cannot change the status of the things.
What I'm saying is like we should, like, there's another level of access just below right on a GitHub repo called triage, I think.
I don't think we implement these right on the Kubeflow.
Well, no, you can do it. It's just part of GitHub. The thing that it lets you do though is do things like report and hide comments and stuff like that. Like hide comments or other things. It does let you edit labels, which is a little bit of a security risk. Because labels are used to like block things. But I don't know. We'll have to think about it. Anyway, in the short term though, we can definitely create a new team. And then add people or add people manually. I think I might be able to add him. Can someone just ping that thing in chat for me? His username?
My username?
Yeah. I think it might just be that it doesn't pre-populate. Wait, right should be enough. Why is right not enough? Maybe not.
To change the board, it requires.
I mean, you can be admin error, but normally people shouldn't need that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so anyway, this is mostly, we might need to create new sections or maybe create a new board just for Notebooks 2.0 if we end up having a lot of sections in it, you know?
Yeah.
Because at the moment, this is mostly for the overall repo where I've kind of got a section for Notebooks 2.0, but it's overall, you know what I mean? And I guess we can do it by labels. It is fine, actually, probably.
Paulo and RZP all agree with me changing and moving from that issue to the board. Can I do this?
Will people have access to the board?
No, they have access to list. They don't have access only to manage. That's something that I can do, but this will be our focus point.
Like dragging.
They can see the board.
Yeah, dragging between requires a write access.
Yeah, but I can do this.
If we can at least view, that's okay.
Yeah.
Actually, it happens automatically for some things as well. Like if they get closed, they go into done. But
yeah.
Also, so I've kind of got the way I've just structured it for people who haven't seen this is the main one is about triaging. So every new issue that comes into the repo, the goal is that it gets a needs triage label, not is that status maybe I think that is, And then so the goal of that is to give it kind of four possibilities. Well, not done. In discussion, which is like we're going to discuss it before we start doing it. To do is like we're going to do this, but we haven't started it yet. In progress obviously means we're working on it, and then done means it's been completed, or that it's rejected in some way. So when you triage an issue, what you should do is give it a milestone, meaning like what release are we targeting it for, and then you should add labels for the area. Again, now this is the problem. To be able to add labels, you need write access on the repo, or
Yep.
that's why we needed this. I remember.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, we probably do need to make people triage on the repo. The problem is that they can add the approved one.
Yeah, but at the first stage, I'll just move from the tracking issue for the board, and then we can move from there.
I mean,
And
you
maybe
can
we can
also
put-
use a comment to do these labels as well, right? So
Yeah,
like I
and-
think you can
and-
use /label or something.
I think only admins can do that. I think.
We need to fix that. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
you should be able to do it through comments. It's a really bit painful, isn't it? But
Yeah. And then either myself or you can recommend Paulo to become a member, and then in future we can add Paulo. as
also,
well.
Adam also wants to be a member, and I think he should probably be allowed to be a member at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, but he's not obviously going to be doing this part, but he was the GSOC person. But yeah, so this is a bit of a problem because like the ability to easily go, okay, that one is about the controller, and it's a enhancement, and you know,
And the milestone as well. I think requires admin.
yeah, that. Which one? Sorry.
The milestone.
What were you saying? I couldn't understand you. Sorry.
No, the milestone, the second column.
Yeah. My list. Oh
No, the milestone.
Oh, milestones. Adding things to milestones. Yeah, that just requires you can
Admin.
definitely do that one with a label with a comment. I know that one you can do with a comment. But yes, it does require triage at least. Yes. Which is below right. Okay. Yeah, so we can talk about that. Okay, let's come back. So of these ones here, what are the most important ones that people are going to be working on over the next wee while?
Yeah, I'll talk about the board from thing yet. Go ahead, Paul. And others.
Yeah, so we still have 4 PRs open that are under review, and the next ones are all of the front end ones basically related to workspace table and workspace details that are still not done. And also we have a mockup for the workspace creation wizard. We will be able to work on that as well.
I'll just maybe I'll paste them in.
Yeah, those are the PRs that are already open, not the issues.
Sorry. Okay. Okay, and so we've definitely got people working on all these. And which ones are these? Let's just quickly see what they are. We have no time left, so if people can stay later, they are welcome to stay for a couple minutes. We might go like 20 minutes over because there's a lot to talk about, but feel free to leave if you have a meeting. It will still be recorded. I'll put it on YouTube. So yes. Anyone want to say anything before we do that? Okay, cool. Anyone who needs to be here can, like, is anyone who, like, Paulo, are you able to stay for a couple minutes?
Yes, I am.
Cool, awesome. Okay, so there's add filtering, which I presume is, also as a side note, if we're doing front-end things, I strongly recommend adding a screenshot always, even if it's just basic. Not for this case, if there's people reviewing it all the same, but the another thing we could consider is, especially for front end, especially once we've got the development workflow a little bit cleaner, we could add a code spaces button that lets you click a button to spawn it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And code spaces being a GitHub thing, which lets you kind of run a container in GitHub on either your own infrastructure or theirs that has everything pre-set up for development. So maybe we could that I've seen other projects do similar things. I mean, that's not straight away. I'm just wondering. Connect column, obviously, there was some discussions here. I don't know who's working on this. This person, do we know this person? Is he a Red Hatter?
I'm here.
Oh,
Yeah.
hi.
Hey. Regarding it, one question. Do we have any limits to the number of the endpoints that we will have?
I think there is. Let me just check. I think it will be able to, the way you can check those kind of things, or some of them are harder to check than others, other than just trying, is so not that one, it's under API. So let's check, there's two places it could be. So this is under the Workspaces controller API. There could be a limit under these kube builder validations. So if we look at image config, image conf. No, it'll be under actually just the root part of it. So this is workspace, not that one. It's workspace kind. So you got image config spec and then ports. Yeah, we don't have a maximum. We probably could implement a maximum. We have minimum items of 1, obviously. And also, again, we don't need it to look exactly like what I've done here. This was just a thing I found on Google. We just can, you get the idea though, right?
Since I thought maybe, let's say I'm talking offline, as I mentioned, with Jenny, which is the UX in Red Hat, just to get, better user experience.
That's a really good idea. Talk to people who know more than me, please.
She's, that's her job. She suggested to have the container name as in, the primary URL, as you mentioned. Okay, when you're going to the table, I guess we will need to know somehow, as you mentioned, we need the first, let's say the default URL to be the notebook one, right? Since we have lots of endpoints and we want to, as you
So
mentioned,
it should
build a
be the
primary or
first one on the
something like
list.
that.
So the way that it's defined
first one
in
on
the
the list.
spec is that it's probably easier not to look at this part unless you're very familiar with Go. Let's just grab the sample. Samples.
I am
So
familiar with this. It's okay.
it's kind of hard to read for other people though. I'll show it for you, other people.
Okay.
Okay, so like if we look at image, so the way this works is this is just really important to understand. It shouldn't be a complicated thing for the front end developer because the back end handles this, but this is a workspace kind for Jupyter, right? There are image configs, which are the things which are the drop-down selectable image environments, like Jupyter version this, Jupyter with SciPy, Jupyter with CUDA, whatever. Maybe not with CUDA, because probably we're going to split that into its own one so that they can have CUDA-specific pod configs. But anyway, it's really important to understand that there could be a port that is added in or present or not present in some of the image configs. So if the image config that's selected for the workspace is this one, it might have this set of ports. But if this set of ports was different, then it might have a different set, So maybe the admin has a Jupyter one, which has sometimes just Jupyter and other times Jupyter and Spark master UI, Spark UI. So the way that we identify them in the path, HTTP path is this ID, which is what becomes the / path. And this is the target port on the container. But the display name is, and for now, this is only HTTP, this is only supported one. But so in the future, we might support SSH ports, for example. But the display name is what, in my mind, initially what I was thinking should be in this kind of on the, so I don't know how to indicate that it's a connect button, because having the word connect, the question is, should the primary thing be a button? Because I feel like the default one should just be one click, you know what I mean? Whereas that's kind of why I was thinking this is a button that you can press here, which just says Jupyter or something. It's a bit, maybe there's a connect symbol, like a plug or something, at first. That's what I was saying. And then Jupyter, or maybe a link button, there's kind of that open a new tab button you've got, that symbol, right? Open a new tab. And then every secondary one that's not the default one, the question becomes, what's the default one? Well, that's pretty straightforward. The backend should tell you, but even the way that the backend is going to know is that it's going to be the first one on the list for that image. So it's different. It's not global to the workspace kind. It's specific to, we could even have a display default, you know what I mean? But it's probably just easier to take the 0th element because it's like, there's no possibility of having 2 0th elements.
So let's say if we are doing, okay, so we have a default, we can know it so since it's the first element. If we are changing, you can see, I think in Kubernetes dashboard, that when you are clicking the pod name, let's say it is a link, right? And Jenny also suggested that when you go back to the table, you can see it. It's like, well, in the screenshot, you have here L. Okay.
This one? Or this one?
It's the one I pasted. For example, my Jupyter notebook, it could be the link, let's say to the default URL where you have the name.
Which part are we, which screenshot? This screenshot or the other screenshot?
It doesn't matter. It's the same for both of them. The first column, you have the name, right?
Go on.
It could be the link to the default URL. And then we can have in the expandable or in the details, in case we have other endpoints, to have it there. Maybe it will make more sense. It's like,
So the notebooks 1.0 looks not shopping, what the heck? Let me just has like a connect button over here, you see. Oh, that's funny, but I've just got a random website. But the like there's a connect button, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Of course, now that we support multiple target connections, then that I mean, we need some other way to deal with that. But it is the primary action. It's like sending an email. It has to be the most prominent button on the page because for someone who doesn't know what's going on, their eyes need to be drawn to that button. You know what I mean?
I agree. I agree with what you said, that it needs to be in the main row. And by the way, is it the right place to do the discussion or should we do it offline?
Yeah,
I'm
we should
not
probably do it
sure.
offline. Yeah, probably.
Okay, so let's do it offline.
So if you have ideas, let's share them. But if you have an expert in UX, just explain to them that this is like sending a text or sending an email or creating a new document or something. Maybe that's not a good example, but that's separate. So there's like the main workflow of a data scientist is going to be someone else created the workspace probably, or they created it in a previous session. Maybe they need to unpause it. So the pause play button also needs to be, in my mind, very visible, or maybe the state needs to be closer to the button to change the state, because these are kind of far away right now. So that it's not clear that this button could be used to change it, or maybe, maybe pressing on this should be able to change it as well. And then, because again, state actually is not, that's probably not the right place because state is more of an indicator of when it's running, if it's healthy, But anyway, so the two actions are creating a new workspace, and then once you've already created one, say your other team member has done it already, it's connecting to the workspace, So just explain that to them that that's why. I mean, this is not the gospel or anything. You can do it however you like, but it just needs to be the most prominent button on the page. Cool.
Okay.
Okay, so anyway, so we had some other ones. Let me just close all that. Where you had this 5 now, okay. Okay, and so these are just for the front end though. I won't go through these in detail again. Let's just kind of, so is there a person who was working on this in the chat?
He just dropped.
Oh, okay, cool.
Eli.
Eli, sorry. Awesome. This is cool. I guess the question for everyone is, probably stopping and starting should be fine. You know what I mean? With okay, there's one important thing that there needs to be the window here that explains. I don't know if someone's got it. I can just review it later, but that there's in the status, there's like information that's a list of redirect information for the update. So I'll just show what I mean. It'll help people understand. Not workspace kind, workspace. So if there is a redirect chain, oh, actually, no, you only have the redirect chain. And then under the workspace kind, what you will have is a, say, 0.8 was redirected to 0.9. You have an informational message level, which is like info, warning, and danger. So there should be like a kind of a list of changelog, not like a list of changelog. There's text inside, and it's just raw markdown maybe. And then maybe we should qualify that and maybe have like description or something, and then have markdown be one of the fields so that you can use different formats in the future. But that's really important on the update screen because it needs to tell them what's going to happen. Anyway, just wanted to highlight that because I see that this is not got that. So at least mock that up is what I'm saying. Getting it from the back end will be quite complicated. But the front end shouldn't have to care about that because the back end will just give you a list of text blobs to add at various warning levels. I think, by the way, I'll show you a reference. Let me just actually show you a reference. GKE changelog, I think, is a good example of this. Not this one, but see like stuff like this. But like, so this is probably not like this, but you know, just like this idea of having a level and then all the text associated with that thing. So maybe actually this highlights one thing we haven't done, which is maybe a title, or maybe the title should just be from this to this. I don't know. Who knows?
Could you please go back again to the screenshot?
Oh, yep.
Yeah, here. So mainly you want the icon, then the title and more information.
It could be an expandable section because this could get quite big, but it's effectively what it's actually doing back, and like to understand technically what's happening, and this includes when you restart, it should also have the update as well. There we go, this one. Yeah, so like effectively, most of the time people are going to be updating with this screen, you know, or the start screen. Actually, you're right, you are correct. So effectively, what it should show is if the admin has created. So it probably needs to be expandable. And also, there are cases where the admin could have screwed things up. Like they could be redirecting 3 times in a row. And those changes are really dramatic or not really related to each other, you know. But effectively, the goal would be to add some information here saying there are pending updates. The current image is like so you need to show image and pod config because there's 2 separate sections. You know, there's ones, it could be an image config update or a pod config update, both of which are easily highlighted in the status of the workspace, but the backend will handle that for you on the front end. You'll just get a JSON payload. So it's like the update is pod configs, and maybe it's tabbed. I don't know if it should be tabbed or if it should be a column. Maybe it probably needs to be tabbed. So that then you can have something that looks like this under each tab being like from this to this, you know, and then saying maybe, I don't know. We can think about it from a UI perspective, but it needs to reflect the, there could be a chain of them, you know, it could go to 0.8 to 0.9 because they might have only done it a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Yeah. It's just, again, it doesn't like, just mock up something very basic. It doesn't need to, but the most important thing to understand is that there are 2 possibilities of things that could change, both of which or none of, or one of which or none of which, you know, pod and image, or image only or pod only, or neither. But there's no update then, obviously, if it's neither. Also, I don't know if we did it in the overall screenshot, but there should be a warning sign somewhere here, maybe, that says like pending update.
There's another PR. I believe that
perfect.
it's the icon.
Which one was it? Or is it not one of these ones?
I don't remember if it's opened yet, to be honest.
Okay, cool, yeah.
I think it's from Liav, I think.
Yes. Is it open already? The Liavsphere? Maybe I missed on
Yeah.
that list.
I saw Matthew open it.
Which issue?
The icon.
It's the second one.
The icon is the second one. The pair is waiting for you.
Oh, not that icon. So that is really cool.
Oh no, there is another one. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's definitely important as well. That's good. Okay, I guess the question for people. So I guess in my mind, the biggest one I haven't seen a PR for yet is the create workspace workflow. How is that progressing, Ida?
Yeah, we're
Yeah, this-
still
Go ahead.
we're still talking to our UX expert to see how would be the best way to do with the wizard, but we don't have a mockup started yet.
I think we did a basic mockup, but again, we had some serious annotations going on it. Did we show the UX people that, or are they making a new mockup, or what's going to happen there?
Yeah, they are doing based on that mockup that we did there.
And they're making a new mockup first?
Yep. This is what we're discussing now.
Do
But
we
we
know?
are going to confirm. We are going to confirm with the community first before implementing.
Yeah. And do we know when they might have an example to show? A mockup?
Do you know, Paul?
No, I don't know yet. The timeline.
Yeah, but we should push them. Yeah.
That one's probably the most important thing because like there's only 2 serious pages, right? And it's the create workspace, which is also equivalent to edit workspace as well. So there, that's the wizard that'll pop up for editing as well, just pre-populated, obviously.
Paul, I think we can work on the next 2 weeks and present on the next community call this.
Sure,
Okay, cool.
I'll try to do that.
So for the back end, which is going to be obviously blocking a lot of things, is that what you want to talk about? Remaining the one last thing, Ida? Yes.
Yeah. The backend there is a few pull requests that I need to review, and the next thing that I'm gonna ping you offline just for the sake of the call how we should do subject as review there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean that's pretty straightforward, but yeah. So is there anything?
Yeah. No. I mean I did it for model rest. We just need to figure out the rules on it. But I'll ping you offline on this one.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, pretty much the back end, obviously, the JSON payloads might change a bit, and that's especially with that update thing. So whoever's working on that update thing, think about the structure that you would want. Realizing that and so stuff like right now, this would almost certainly need to be on a redirect chain, So we'd need to impute the display name of source, display name of target, and image and information about the update, like we were showing in and so you don't have to think about that, but that's going to need to be there in the JSON payload, you know what I mean, in the object, so that you can obviously right now I think you're just pulling it from the status of here, from the status of the workspace itself. So but we probably will need to calculate it instead, because I don't want to actually put that in the status, because otherwise this would be duplicating potentially very large amounts of text all over the cluster, So, yeah, because effectively the workspace backend controller should be aware of the workspace kind, you know what I mean? And then it can kind of like say, oh, I know what that source ID means. I know what that target ID means. I can give you in the JSON response a little bit more information than I would be able to get just by doing a workspace.
I see. Yeah.
Which is also part of the reason why we do it, rather than having the front end do the query and impute it itself. Otherwise, it makes hundreds of queries for no reason,
Yeah.
Otherwise, every workspace makes a new query to the workspace kind, which is silly. So, okay, cool. So that, and is there any particular one you want to highlight for the backend editor?
No.
Okay, cool. We'll stop recording in a second. So is there anyone got anything they want to say, or that's blocking them from doing work, or that they aren't? So there's two things I want to know. If you have nothing to work on, is the most important thing, and you want to work on something, please tell me. And then the next thing is, if you are working on something but you are blocked, please tell me. So is anyone in that category? Let's say the first one. If anyone not got something to do.
Mohamed is on the call here, Akren. He's waiting for a new task, and I have one pull request for him to review.
Cool.
But I
Is
work with
anyone
him.
waiting on?
He's helping on the back end.
So that's kind of blocked. Okay, so what is he blocked by?
It's just one pull request, and then I need to split more tasks on the back end for him to help me. He's from community.
Okay, cool. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I wonder if we should move this meeting to weekly, at some point, and then make it a true stand-up. You know what I mean?
Yep. That will work better. I would say.
We might need to do it on a Monday if we make it a stand-up. Oh
We
my
just
gosh.
need to figure out the time here.
Yeah. Okay.
Because the challenge that we're going to have is that I am on the west, you are on the west coast, Paul in Brazil.
Yeah, I mean, we can
others
do
in
it
Israel.
asynchronously. Yeah, we can do it asynchronously. Effectively, then we just need to think about how we use these meetings. So do we use them as status updates? And then I think probably the most logical thing is to have people working in pairs or threes that are that are able to have meetings with each other, you know, and just keep each other on track with at least one person in each team being able to approve things. You know what I mean?
I think Paulo, you are doing meetings, right? Already. With people from the front
Inside
end.
Red Hat, we are doing internal meetings about this.
Perfect.
Kind of trying. We have like a Scrum team, and I'm also trying to review all PRs, and with other support as well, since he's the approval so far now for the front end.
Of course. And right now, obviously, I would love to get some other people on the back end as well, and the controller obviously too. But the controller is mostly finished. Yeah, I could probably finish the controller in like a week or two once we actually get blocked by it. So, okay, then the last thing that remains is, okay, who is aiming towards needing membership on the Kubeflow org? Because obviously we can't just give it out without having pull requests that have been merged. But is anyone experiencing problems because they can't LGTM things, for example?
Yeah, me.
Are you not a member?
No, I'm not a member.
I see. Is this your first kind of contribution to Kubeflow?
Yes.
Okay. So we need to wait until like a couple PRs, but it should be easy once you've done a couple PRs.
I think Paulo has a couple of PRs
okay.
already.
If you have a couple
I have
PRs,
like 3 merged.
Then we can get you it immediately. Of course, getting membership does mean that you have the ability to LGTM in every repo, which can cause other repos problems. But you're probably smart enough to not do that.
Sure. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So who needs membership?
Matthew, one comment about that. I think also Yos Elias and Laia Haroni, both of them are members in the Kubeflow.
Who?
Yos Elias is here, and Eli,
yes.
Yeah, both of them are members also in the Kubeflow.
Oh, from the model registry, probably. Yeah. Perfect. I'm just checking because that's obviously a big pain if we can't assign you things. And you can't LGTM. Because obviously you need an approver and an LGTM to do things, and you can't approve your own. You can approve your own, actually, but you do need at least one LGTM from someone else.
Okay. And the second thing regarding backend stuff, we also can support you on that.
Perfect. And I'm assuming you've got Go experience? People with Go experience?
Yeah, we have some experience in Go, yeah.
I mean, you can learn it as well. It's not like it's difficult to learn, but just in which case, because the problem is for people who are new to Go, it could be difficult to become a reviewer, you know? Like, yeah.
Yeah, we're not aiming to be reviewers right now. Let's first contribute and then
or approve it,
we'll take the next step.
Yeah. Awesome. Of course, at the beginning, a lot of this is mostly design things anyway. It's like, okay, the implementation is important, but like the thing that's difficult is like, okay, how do we structure the JSON payload and things like that, you know, rather than, we've kind of got some of it designed, but things like, you know, are we going to add that? Where are we going to add this information here? Because, yeah, that's fine. Okay, cool. Anyway, let's stop recording. Anyone else want to add anything before we stop recording? Thanks for coming, everyone. You can stay around and we can chat a little bit in the post-recording, but thanks for coming. Anyone who's watching who wants to contribute, please reach out to me on Slack, Matthew Wicks. See you guys.